Ugly divorces, shocking deaths, and an untimely end. In the 1980s, Ivana Trump seemed to have it all: money, glamour, and fame. But after multiple tragedies and heartbreak, her final days were marked by sadness and isolation. Ivana Trump was born Ivana Marie Zelníková in Zlín, a small town in what was then known as Czechoslovakia. As a child, she demonstrated keen athletic ability as a competitive skier and eventually became a member of the country's national ski team. Skiing not only paved the way for her future, it also instilled her with a steely determination and self-reliance.
And I started to ski, and I loved it.
She ultimately left Zlín to attend Charles University in Prague. That was where she met Alfred Winkelmeier, an Austrian skier. She married him not because she was in love, but in order to get a passport to defect from the Eastern Bloc nations under the thumb of the Soviets. After serving as an alternate on the Czech ski team during the 1972 Olympics in Sapporo, Japan, she wound up in Montreal. Once she was safely ensconced in the West, she summarily divorced Winkelmeier, ending their brief transactional marriage.
That was the most important moment because it gave me a life in the West and in the land of freedom and opportunity.
Ivana was 27 when she arrived in New York to participate in a fashion show attended by Donald Trump. They began dating and tied the knot in 1977. She became pregnant on their honeymoon, with their first child, Donald Jr., arriving 9 months later. He was followed by sister Ivanka and brother Eric. The marriage came to a screeching halt in December 1989. While the Trumps enjoyed a Christmas ski vacation in Aspen, Donald was simultaneously romancing his mistress, actor and singer Marla Maples. It all came to a head when Maples walked up to Ivana and, according to the Daily Mail, told her, "I'm Marla and I love your husband. Do you?" Stung by the humiliation of that infidelity, Ivana confronted her husband on a ski slope, where he cowardly skied away. Ivana ultimately filed for divorce. To say it was not amicable is an understatement. While testifying in her divorce proceedings, Ivana made a shocking accusation against her husband. That allegation appeared in a deposition, which didn't become public until appearing in the 1993 book, Lost Tycoon: The Many Lives of Donald J. Trump. According to excerpts from the book, Ivana described a 1989 incident in which her then-husband had angrily confronted her after a painful, botched scalp reduction operation. He grabbed Ivana's hair, ripping out clumps, presumably so she could feel the same pain he was experiencing. He then proceeded to tear her clothes off and allegedly sexually assaulted her. Afterwards, she fled to another part of their apartment and spent the rest of the night weeping behind a locked door. At the time the book came out, Donald denied the account. So did Ivana, sort of. Prior to the book's publication, Donald's lawyer insisted that a special reader's note be added, featuring a statement attributed to Ivana. The statement read, "On one occasion during 1989, Trump and I had marital relations in which he behaved very differently toward me than he had during our marriage." She also walked back the assault allegations, saying, "I do not want my words to be interpreted in a literal or criminal sense."
There's not a lot of disagreement because ultimately Ivana does exactly as I tell her to do.
Ivana's divorce from Donald Trump was especially nasty, and the New York media had a field day. Coverage of the divorce dominated the front pages of the city's tabloids for 11 consecutive days. Ivana wrote in her 2017 memoir, Raising Trump, "I can only shake my head at how insane it was. I couldn't turn on the television without hearing my name." According to the New York Times, the divorce was granted in 1990 due to the cruel and inhuman treatment Donald had doled out to her. In the settlement, she received $14 million, a hefty fee, but a far cry from her ex's net worth, which was reportedly estimated at well over $1 billion at the time.
May I have the last slice?
Actually, you're only entitled to half.
One key feature of the settlement was a gag order that prevented Ivana from saying anything publicly about her marriage. When she wrote her 1995 novel For Love Alone, it infuriated her ex-husband. Believing the supposedly fictional story to be a lightly cloaked account of their marriage, he slapped a $25 million lawsuit on her, claiming she violated the confidentiality clause in their divorce settlement. She launched an appeal to lift the gag order, but was ultimately unsuccessful. When the dust finally settled after her divorce from Donald, Ivana moved on with her life. She relocated to London and entered a relationship with Kenneth Lieberman, who was married at the time. When he reconciled with his wife, she consoled herself in the arms of Riccardo Mazzucchelli, who she quickly wed in 1995. At the time, Ivana was establishing herself as an entrepreneur in her own right, becoming a popular fixture on the home shopping channel with her line of clothing and accessories. Her husband, however, grew jealous of her success, and his Italian machismo left his ego bruised. It all came to a head when they took a trip to Las Vegas and took in a performance by singer Wayne Newton. When Newton pointed out Ivana in the audience and identified her as Ivana Trump, not Mrs. Riccardo Mazzucchelli, that proved to be the final straw. Ivana's friend, Nicki told Vanity Fair, "Ricardo got up and left and we never saw him again. That was the end of the marriage. They divorced just 20 months after their wedding." Ivana told People, "I'm very sad. I cry. I love Ricardo. This is a tremendously hard time for me. It's very painful to go through 6 years of a relationship with a person and to be disappointed or filing for divorce or whatever." After divorcing Mazzucchelli, Ivana was vacationing in Rome when she met Count Roffredo Gaetani. A wealthy playboy from a storied Italian family, he quickly fell into a torrid affair with her. She would regale her friends with tales of their bedroom antics. Friend Vivian Sirota told Vanity Fair she would tell everybody that he was the best lover, and he was a gentleman, and he was very protective.
"I have a lovely Italian gentleman."
The Italian aristocrat even received the seal of approval from her ex-husband. Donald Trump told the New York Times, "I hope they both have a good time spending the money that I gave to Ivana." In December 2005, Gaetani was driving in Tuscany on his way to visit his mother at the family's castle. He fell asleep while driving, and the car veered off the road. He suffered fatal injuries in the crash and died at age 52. After experiencing that tragedy, Ivana wound up with the man who would become her fourth husband, Rossano Rubicondi. Her friends were suspicious of his motives. Understandable, given that he was flat broke and more than 20 years her junior. But Ivana was unconcerned, writing in her memoir, "I'd rather be a babysitter than a nursemaid." According to her friends, it was Ivana paying the bills. Paolo Alavian, owner of one of Ivana's favorite restaurants, told Vanity Fair, "Ivana was a mega financial support for him." His recollection of Rubicondi was that of a guy with endless ideas and little follow-through. Despite the warnings of her friends, she decided to pull the trigger on matrimony for a fourth time. Ivana's friend, Liz Brewer, told Vanity Fair she honestly believed that if she married Rossano, he might start behaving himself and he would feel more secure. But that was unfortunately not the case. 2 weeks before their 2008 wedding, police responded to a disturbance at her home. The fight was reportedly over money. He demanded a cut of the millions in wedding sponsorships she was receiving and refused to sign the marriage certificate unless she coughed up some cash. She gave him $75,000 and they walked down the aisle. Immediately after the nuptials, the groom flew to Italy to appear in a reality show, while the bride spent her honeymoon alone in Palm Beach.
Don't get mad, get everything.
None of Ivana's friends were surprised when her marriage to Rubicondi ended less than a year later. After finalizing their divorce, she eventually reconciled with her fourth ex-husband and even appeared together on the Italian version of Dancing with the Stars. The couple split up again, this time apparently for good. Ivana told Page Six in 2019, "The relationship just ran its course. We had a good time and our friends. The split was amicable." In 2020, Rubicondi called her from Italy, revealing he was ill. She arranged for him to fly to New York and join her. He'd been diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma, and doctors had given him just a few months to live. Despite her joking line about preferring to be a babysitter than a nursemaid, that's exactly what she became, taking care of him as his life ebbed away during his final months. He died in October 2021, at the age of 49. Ivana told People she was devastated by the news. The death of Rubicondi hit Ivana hard, according to her friends in New York. Paolo Alavian told New York Magazine, "I think Rossano's death sank Ivana. She was very, very down. We could see it." In the years after that, her health declined. At one point, she fell, injuring her hip. That injury made walking painful for her. A doorman in a building on her street shared his observation with The Sun, telling the outlet she used to always wear high heels and walk straight up. After he died, she didn't come out as much. She wore flats and walked hunched over with the cane. She'd also been drinking more after Rubicondi's death and had struggled with her isolation during the pandemic. According to Thomas Makos, owner of another of her favorite restaurants, he noticed a big difference in her after COVID-19 lockdowns were relaxed. He told the New York Post, "She aged in a way you were not used to. She aged very rapidly the last 1 year. She seemed a little down. She seemed frail." Ivana's hip injury continued to linger, and walking became increasingly difficult for her. Thomas Makos even admitted to the New York Post that he had to help her home on occasion. Meanwhile, those who knew her grew concerned that she'd fall again while walking up and down the elaborate staircase in her Manhattan townhouse. Friends urged her to sell the place and move into a one-level apartment or a hotel. Nicki told New York Magazine, "I was more concerned about her falling down those stairs than anything else, and she adamantly refused to move." On the morning of July 14th, 2022, her housekeeper found her lifeless body at the bottom of that very staircase. She was 73 years old. The medical examiner subsequently concluded that she died from blunt force trauma. Among the tragic details discovered in her post-mortem report, the fatal injuries she sustained were inflicted by falling down that staircase. Haskell noted to New York Magazine, "There are all these pictures of her on that stairway. When you think about how you are going to end your life, did she ever once think that is how it's going to happen?"
It's been a tough time for our family for sure, but I'll tell you what, she raised 3 incredible children.
Ivana Trump's funeral was held at St. Vincent Ferrer Roman Catholic Church in New York City's Upper East Side. In attendance were her 3 children and ex-husband Donald Trump. She was buried at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. Her grave, marked by a modest headstone, was situated near the tee on the first hole of the golf course. Theories emerged that the site of the grave was chosen because New Jersey tax code would guarantee massive tax breaks for the country club if it were used as a cemetery. 2 years after the burial, a photo of Ivana's grave was published by the Daily Mail, overgrown with weeds and long uncut grass. According to a spokesperson for the golf club, plans were in place for a larger headstone to replace the small marker. However, the spokesperson noted that it hadn't been done yet because the soil and foundation still required time before it would be completely set. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, help is available. Visit the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network website or contact RAIN's National Helpline at 1-800-656-HOPE. That's 1-800-656-4673.